r/AskReddit. When has a gut feeling saved your life? Serious. When I was around 18, I was on a back road with some friends and a girl I didn't know was driving really fast. Now, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I have always enjoyed a calculated risk in the name of a good time. But on this occasion I told her to either slow the duck down or let me out. I literally had to start screaming at her before she listened and slowed down. A week later she crashed on that same stretch of road at 90 miles per hour, killing her and the 3 passengers of her car.
Yikes. My husband is a state trooper and has always said the wreck that sticks with him the most was a group of 4 17 to 18-year-olds in a car speeding on the freeway. One of the kids was screaming and begging the driver to let him out. The driver pulled over and let him out as he and the other 2 passengers made fun of him for being a pussy and not wanting to have fun. A couple miles later, the driver flew off an overpass, went over the guardrail, and onto the freeway below, killing him and the other 2 passengers instantly and ejecting one out of the car. Luckily there was no one below that they fell onto. My husband always remembers that kid who demanded to get out, and how terrified and shaken he was when he walked up on what happened, and was able to explain that he was in the car with them just minutes prior, and would have been dead had he not been a pussy.
I was driving a friend home late at night when I was around 21. She lived in a pretty rural area outside of St. Louis, Mo. And about a quarter mile from her house was an old abandoned farm and farmhouse. I always thought of this place as non-threatening, as she told me she and her 2 sisters would go there as kids and they found an attic full of cool things, including a trunk of vintage woman's clothing and old love letters. Like something out of a movie. Anyway, I'm driving her home and it's a hot, humid Missouri summer and we have the windows open as the late night had offered some cool air. We are also singing at the top of our lungs. We pass the abandoned farm and I drop her off at her house. I wait long enough to see she makes it inside and I head back out the way I came. I'm driving along and I get to almost where the farm is and I see 2 things in the road. My danger meter goes off as I had just driven this road and there was nothing there. I put the windows up and make sure the doors are locked. I get closer and I realize the items are 2 car batteries, spaced out in the road, which was basically a 1-lane road, in a way that I would have to get out and move them to drive on the road. I immediately knew I wasn't getting out of the car, so I picked the side of the road that had the lesser ditch and I gunned it. I was driving a little SUV, and remember feeling the car run over branches and things in the little ditch. But I just gunned it and got out of there. All the way home I felt creeped out and kept checking my rear view mirror. I called my friend the next morning and told her what had happened and we both agreed it was weird. Shortly after that I moved to another state and didn't think much of it after that. Fast forward to 2 to 3 years later when I was back visiting my hometown. I randomly ran into my old friend and she ran up to me with wide eyes and grabbed my arms. She asked me if I remembered what I told her that night. I said yes, and she proceeded to tell me that not too long after that had happened, her family was awakened in the middle of the night to someone pounding on their sliding glass door. Her dad went to check and saw 2 naked, injured women and let them in and called 911. They had been abducted from St. Louis City, about 40 minutes away, by 2 men and brought to the old, abandoned farmhouse, where the men tortured and raped them. The women somehow managed to get free and ran to the only light they could see, the light over my friend's garage. They survived, but the men were never caught. There was evidence the men had been going there for a while. My friend was convinced they had put the batteries in the road to lure me out of the car. I'm just really glad my gut told me not to.
A pain in the lungs when I inhaled. I've never been stabbed. Don't know what it's like, but the pain should have been equal to it, if not worse. It had happened before, years ago. Some hot water in the shower and the pain was gone. My wife, then girlfriend, insisted on going to ER. I insisted on hot water. I feel like we should go and see a doctor, she had said. I was diagnosed with pulmonary embolism on both lungs. Doctor said 1 or 2 more hours and you were gone. So yeah, I owe my wife one.
few years ago I was at a bar with a couple of friends. All was good. We were drinking and having fun. All of a sudden, we heard this discussion taking place just a couple of tables from us. Two guys decided to have a shouting threat match. I stopped everything to pay attention to them. My friends were making fun of me, saying I was gossipy. One of the guys in the discussion got up and left. Immediately after he left, I told my friends we had to go. Now, let's GTFO now. They didn't get why I was like that. But I'm their friends since forever. They reluctantly agreed. We went to a different bar in a different neighborhood, but I couldn't take my mind off of those two guys. The next day, the news were talking about a bar fight. Apparently the guy who got up went home, grabbed a gun and came back for a drive-by. Killed 4 people in the process. My grandpa taught me to never ignore my gut, and I couldn't be happier to have listened.
A lesson that I learned in high school, and it always proves true. Mid-altercation or argument, if one leaves the place briskly and suddenly walk away, the other guy has not run away. No, he just was fetching a weapon, or calling up his buddies. It is clear and obvious warning sign. Am glad that you know.
My now wife and I did the long-distance thing in college. And I planned on doing my normal routine to visit her. Leave Chicagoland in the morning. Get to her early afternoon on Friday. Well, I'm closing my store on Thursday night. And get a feeling I should leave that night. So I said duck it and left that night. A little after lunch on Friday. Tornado sirens go off. I don't think anything of it until I head back home Sunday. And drive through a town about half-hour north of her. It got lit up by the tornado. I quickly realized that had I left at my normal time, I would have been smack dab in the middle of that tornado.
Lump in my right breast. 43 years old. Clean mammogram 5 months earlier. I just knew. 4 different doctors told me it was nothing and to come back in a year. I did not and found a 5th. Yeah, I had to argue my way into being diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. On the bright side, Thursday was my 5 years all clear date.
I was taking my mom to a follow-up appointment from back surgery the month before. The freeway was closed due to a car accident and Life Flight was called to transport the people injured in the accident. The highway patrol was funneling everyone off of the freeway to the right side exit. I had the strongest feeling we needed to move to the left farthest lane. So I did. No more than a minute after I moved over, a garbage truck came barreling down the freeway and crashed into the car that was in front of us in the other lane so fast that it lifted the front end of the truck and it landed on top of the car. We were in a tiny sports car that would have crumpled like a tin can under the weight of a garbage truck and definitely would have killed my mom and me in a second.
My mom knew something was wrong with me when I was younger. Doctors didn't want to see me for another 2 weeks. Mom went into a blind rage over the phone telling them that she was taking me to get checked whether they liked it or not. We got to the GP. He puts a stethoscope on my back and smells my breath. Then says, "We need to get him to hospital now. Turns out I have type 1 diabetes and if I'd waited another day I would have died." Edit. The breath part is due to the buildup of ketones in the blood. As I was in the severe stages of diabetic ketoacidosis.
It didn't happen to me but was told by my mom. When she was pregnant with my older sister, her and her family decided to go hiking in the mountains. On the day of the hike she suddenly felt discomfort and unconformable. So she stayed behind while the rest of her family went for the hike. Her family got lost and if it wasn't for my mom staying behind, they wouldn't have gotten help. Keep in mind that there was no cell phones back then. So if you got lost, it was a lot harder to contact rescue to come find you. Funny enough, my sister was also born during an earthquake. Different story.
A few weeks ago, I had just left my apartment complex and was heading to a friend's. I pulled out of my driveway and up to the traffic light and stopped. I was in the left turn lane. Light was red. It was laid out and there wasn't many people on the road. I watched as the light went yellow, and then red for through traffic. One guy ran the tail end of the yellow. Like usual, my turn. Light goes green. I have an arrow blinking for me to turn left. I looked both ways and there was no one around. And I just didn't go. I cannot explain what happened other than something inside me just said don't go. So I sat there staring at the green light. A couple seconds later a car came screaming through the red light. Through the intersection. Probably doing about 100 kilometers per hour. In the lane I would have been turning into. They were going so fast their vehicle had a bounce to it. If I had turned my car would have been destroyed. And me along with it. I sat there through the whole next light cycle and then turned. Pulled over and called my sister. It was a ghostly feeling. I am a light jumper. I look both ways but I am impatient. And I cannot explain what stopped me from going the second that light went green. But I'm glad it did. Edit. To correct me calling it an orange light yellow. Amber.
Don't know if gut feeling or lucky coincidence. Decided I should empty the bin on my way to uni, which added maybe 10 seconds to my journey as the skip was 10 feet from my front door. Began my walk to uni and roughly 10 seconds of walking in front of me. Some idiot from the third floor flat threw a load of glass out his window, smashing all over the path.
It was about 2 years ago. I was walking down a main road. I don't know why, but something told me I needed to cross. I wasn't even going that way. But I just felt like I had to cross. It was quiet, so I quickly ran across the road. Just as I got to the other side, a drunk driver came down the road and hit a light pole where I had just been. Had I not crossed, I would have been killed on impact.
Went to go catch the bus. Saw the bus about to pull out from the stop. And I could have made it if I ran. Something told me not to catch it and just wait for the next one. So I did. Caught the next bus half an hour later. Now, I usually sit at the back of the bus on the driver's side. So that's where I sat. A little way into the journey. Traffic was slowing, and we got to the cause of it. A lorry had crashed into the bus I had missed. Right into the back on the driver's side. Had I caught that bus, I wouldn't be here. Still gives me chills after 6 years.
That's all folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please help the channel by smashing the like button and subscribing for more daily content.